Approval to come out of executive session.
Make a motion to go into executive session.
You get a second?
Second.
Roll call.
I'm sorry, who made the first?
I did. Noble.
And then the second was Sam?
Yes.
Mr. McNaughton?
Yes.
Mr. Sprague?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna make a little, statement here. The portion of Metro Lakes Tabernacle Road was closed because of risk of building resistance to pedestrians and motorists. It was not anticipated that road.
Yeah, can you speak up?
Yeah, very, all right, the portion of Metro Lakes Road was closed because of risk the building presents to pedestrians and motorists. It was not anticipated that the road closure would be for an extended period of time. The committee, through the administrator of Public Works, have reviewed the closures and have found the following. Motorists are ignoring the barriers and using the road. New Jersey State Police resources have been used to enforce closure. Individuals continue to remove the default road signs. The road closure is a direct and significant negative financial impact, such as Ware's Farm. The road closure is significantly negatively impacting farmers' ability to farm. Individuals are using alternate routes, placing unformed burden on wall and traffic infrastructure, and most importantly, people are using private driveways and parking lots to cut throughs and are doing this jeopardy to the health and welfare of individuals lawfully using the parking lots and driveways. The detour is causing a risk to the public health and safety that appears to outweigh the risk the building poses. As such, the cost of keeping the road closure outweighs the benefit. These reasons, we are placing an item on the agenda to open Metro Lakes Tabernacle Road. Trying to coordinate that opening with Carrollton County. All right, we're gonna have public comment. You have 4 minutes to make your public comment. Let's go first.
Mark Lemire, 32 Washington Way. The reason I came up here, even though it's kind of further down the agenda, I just want to remind everybody that we are going to have a Memorial Day Parade this year. It's on May 25th. Despite all the goings on in town, we felt it wasn't proper to undercut the sanctity of that day. So currently we are looking to mimic what we've done in the past. We will convene at Center High School and proceed down Lorenzo Road, stopping at the Union County Cemetery, and ultimately ending up close to the town hall, depending on the town hall site. The Methodist Church across the street has also offered to host us if we have determinants, if we want to use that. So we'll keep that open, and the committee will continue to meet throughout the month of May. So I just want to make sure the committee is aware of that. I think we've already got some insurance in place. The Holy Eucharist Church has offered to, again, to let us use their parking lot generously, although they were upset that they weren't contacted when the road was closed. That's it. I just want to make sure everybody's aware of that. So again, Memorial Day Parade, be there. Okay.
Quick question for you. A lot of residents I know has contacted the township. Have you considered, I know you had your meeting, have you considered going from the firehouse here down like it used to be? I know it's easy to say, but it's hard, but there has been a lot of residents that's emailed the township.
So obviously it's before my time, but apparently before setting was built, that's the used to start.
Yeah, we start here and go all the way.
We actually did, John Harboard, our OEM coordinator, was at our meeting on April 15th. We had virtually all community groups show up to attend and support the event. You know, it's really one of just logistics. I mean, we're asking for volunteers on CERT to help with road closures. And of course, two things come to mind. One, the safety of mustering all the parade at this intersection on Memorial Day weekend, we believe it might be hazardous. And two, we would have to close another half dozen roads in the process, so we need more and more volunteers to do that. So logistically, although I appreciate people would like to start here, it also adds another half mile to the parade route. Central High School, for some from the family we're forming, and right now we're kind of taxing what they're willing to basically do from the school all the way down to the intersection on five thirty-two. As for the road closure, well, a big part of our discussion the other night was, as well as how do we muster the emergency services and allow them to be able to get access to get out. So having that road open will certainly facilitate that. Any other questions?
Oh, that's it. Thank
Thank you.
you.
All right, thank you. See you there.
Anyone else with you tonight? Please state your name, address, for the record.
My name is Alan Rose, formerly at 4 Waltham Drive. Been in Tabernacle 38 years. Been in municipal government for over 30 years. And I've sat on boards, Burlington County Board of Appeals, so forth and so on. And I just don't get it. I just don't understand why this isn't put up for a public referendum, to have 2 or 3 people make a decision on a structure that's been there since 1874. It just doesn't make sense how a couple people can make such a monumental change in the community. That is the essential character of the community. That is the centerpiece of Tabernacle Township, and I'm begging the township to reconsider. I'm sure, I don't want to get into a conflict of interest here, but I'm also a building subcode official, and I just don't really understand how you can't safe that building off and then come up with a plan, and let the voters make the decision whether they want to spend $50,000 to fix it, $500,000 to renovate it, $1 million to renovate it. We used it for soccer. We used it for the soccer program for over 20 years. It has a use. The Historical Society seems to lean to a museum. I don't really know what you can use that building for, but it sits in the center of a gateway to the Pinelands. And I'm a historian. I'm very well versed of this particular area, and to just have a 3-2 vote and tear down a piece of 150-year history makes absolutely no sense. Give it to the voters, and everybody, all these people go away. You get yourself a bomb referendum, whether you shoot for half a $1 million, $1 million, and either the people will say, well, geez, that's gonna raise my taxes, or it's gonna keep the essential character of Tabernacle. So, why nobody's thought of that? I think this is bigger than 5 people voting on it, and I think it really ought to be as a referendum to make a decision as a community. This is a community. There's a reason why there's 100, 150 people in here right now, because the community's upset. That's really all I got to say. I'd love to see the basement, but I guess Mr. Boyd's got that all under control. But no respect. Like I said, I sent a lot of unsafe structure notices myself over the years in all the towns I ran. And I look at the outside, the building, the walls are plumb, the ridge beams as straight as an arrow, and unless there's an absolute catastrophe in the basement, my guess is the town's let it go too long. There's probably 2 feet of water in the basement, May, who knows? And I don't know, but I did say to Mr. McNulty here, which I've been up in that soccer area upstairs, you got 15 days to appeal that to the Board of Appeals, that notice. And that's just the way it goes. And it should, if you have any reverence of saving this building, you may want to appeal the notices and see. But I personally think there's more motive here than the public is really seeing. And I'm basically done. Thank you.
What else would you talk about? Please state your name and address for the record.
Joe Winsinger, 3 Colonial Court. I still have some questions, but I must say first, without delay, that detour should be removed. So if you're a student or a school bus driver, and you're leaving Seneca High School, and you wanna go to a development on the other side of 206, which way do you go? Because there's a detour sign at Hawkins on Ramsey telling you to go straight, so you're going up to the suicide intersection, right? You're coming from Chatsworth, we just talked about transit, you make a left, where's the kid gonna go? They're gonna go to Flagg. So you got two intersections, not controlled by signals, but 532 you can't get to. So I would just say, I heard you mention it, I said without delay, I think should be pulled. And, was there a detour plan submitted to the county that's approved for that? Oh, you don't, I'm not familiar with this, you don't answer questions, please? So, I've never done this, so you can't answer yes or no?
It was submitted to the county. The plan was submitted to the county, yes.
Well, it was submitted
Yes, it was
approved?
submitted to the county.
Okay. And then my other question is, and I have some experience with this kind of stuff, both demolition and, did you guys get a quote to move the building and build a new foundation? Move it over, build Northeast Precast does precast foundation. You're the township engineer, I'm just curious, did we get a quote to move the building? Like they did it all along our Jersey East Coast after Sandy. Move it over, build a new foundation, it's a timber lumber frame building, address the interior structural problems. Before or after you set it back on this new foundation, is there a quote? We've got quotes for that?
There was in February. It was $225,000 to move and the building to make the repairs, $225,000 for foundation reconstruction, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's a very big.
Sorry, I didn't know that. I'm just asking questions. Okay. What, the double wide trailer that's been out there for what, a couple of years now, what does it cost to rent it?
Well, over $3,000.
Okay. And what's the detour from work zone for? I guess I gotta talk. I had to ask this question. I see everything on social media. You can't really give a direct answer.
Questions, give them your opinion.
Yeah. Well, no, I think they're getting it. I mean, I was a Cub Scout tackle leader. To do your meetings, I know that you gotta get approval from the BOE every month, just have meetings with the schools. If you're hell sent on building a new building, at least address that thing, make it a community center. That's it, that's all I have, I've moved a lot of buildings, moved them back, tore down a lot of buildings. I understand what's going on. I've reviewed the structural reports. There's a lot of different ways to interpret what's listed in there, and I'll leave it at that.
I thank you.
Thank you.
Public comment? Please state your name and address for the record.
Ryan Jeffrey, House of Sherry, Hill Road. So, members of the Tabernacle Township Committee, as we gather under our guiding principles of the New Jersey State Constitution, are we not compelled to scrutinize the actions taken under its framework within the constitutional republic? In light of Article 1, Paragraph 2, which asserts, government is instituted for the protection, security, and benefit of the people, how do you justify the current state of our town hall, which visibly contradicts this mandate? Can you clarify for the public how the extended period of neglect at Town Hall aligns with the responsibilities entrusted to you? Regardless of your individual tenures, how does this sustained oversight reflect on your collective commitment as detailed in Article 7, Section 2, Paragraph 2, to act with unwavering fidelity? In fact, the stark reality of the deteriorating public asset, how do you reconcile this with the maxim publica majorum reverentia, which insists on the highest respect for public properties? Moreover, how does allowing such decay serve supreme law of salus populi suprema lex esto, which prioritizes welfare of the people above all else? Given the gravity of these issues, What immediate actions are you prepared to take to realign your plans for the town hall with the explicit will and welfare of the people, as our Constitution not merely suggests, but imperably mandates? Should the community brace for the potential consequences of your inaction? What measures are in place to address the likely legal, public, and electoral ramifications that might not only impact individual careers, but also significantly mar the legacy of this current administration? In the wisdom of Proverbs 29:2, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. How do you plan to restore the confidence and ensure that your governance will lead to rejoicing rather than mourning? What steps will you take today to demonstrate a renewed commitment to the constitutional and ethical standards that govern our stewardship of Tabernacle? How will you prove to the community that your future decisions will not only comply with legal mandates, but also rise to meet the ethical expectations of those you serve? I urge you to consider these questions deeply, as the answers you provide will not only clarify your positions, but will also define the future of our community's trust in your stewardship. Thank you for addressing these.
Good evening. My name's Steve Haupt. My company's SJ Haupt Construction. I'm from South Jersey, Linwood area. My company moves in, lifts buildings, and rebuilds foundations for a living. I've lifted the most houses in the state of New Jersey and moved most houses as well. I'm only here for one reason, just to do what we do, and we save buildings from getting demolished. So I just wanted to come and just provide that solution. There's many steps that can be taken to save buildings from being demolished. I have no comment whatsoever on your new building whatsoever, just the building that exists. We can lift the building up and build a new foundation under it. I do that a couple hundred times a year. We can lift it up and move it to another section of the area, put it on a crawl space foundation, and make it into something else. And I just want to make sure, I'm not here for a job. I'm just here because this is what I do and it's my passion. So whether it's me or whoever moves it, I just wanted to make sure that I was sharing the insight and the knowledge and the wisdom and experience I have when it comes to moving living buildings. So before it gets to wrecking ball, I think that we really should just explore all options of saving the piece of history. It's important. They don't make buildings from 150 years ago anymore. We recently saved the Taylor Bliss House in Englewood that was in way of demolition. We recently moved the Pomona Church to historic Smithville that was built in 1881. We moved the Pizza House from Wildwood prior to that getting demolished. The Avalon House from Avalon to Cape May. And we probably saved about 3 million pounds worth of debris just of houses that are scheduled for regular demolition just to be recycled. Again, the only reason I'm here is just to share that information that I have. The building can be saved. We can mobilize quickly, or anybody can, anyone in the field, lift it up, move it out of the way, repair the foundation. The options exist. So I just wanted to make sure I came, shared the experience I have. I felt like it was my social obligation, and I can leave some cards for anybody if they want, or if they want any more information, just let me know. Thanks.
Last time, I don't expect to get an answer, but so be it. Has anybody reached out to Friends of Cyrus if there's any interest in them talking about the building? I will show of hands. Anybody? Anything?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Last time I had mentioned that Friends of Cyrus was previously considered as a possible location. Eventually Friends of Cyrus bought the building, and I brought the possibility that you could buy it for what would be a rather large benefit to them. And that could save potentially, and that would save millions compared to the new complex that it's being built. Has anybody reached out to Friends of Cyrus to see if they would be willing to even entertain discussions? Anybody? Smile? No comment? Is that a no or no comment? All right, fine. The other issue I talked about last time, and it's evident tonight, I brought up the fact you've got a communication problem. And I'll talk about a couple things that happened at the last meeting and one that's already happened here tonight. At the last meeting, Mayor, you had said at the very beginning that you're going to have engineers come in. A long discussion about who to bring in, and it wasn't until over an hour later when Mr. McNaughton, and I thank you for your openness, he brought up the fact that you're required by Heinz to do that. Why did you not just mention that at the beginning? There's no reason not to. Secondly, I had also mentioned that at the March meeting, it was raised that it was a county road, you guys couldn't do it, and at the end of the discussion. And that was true as far as I knew. What I didn't know until I read an article in the Pine Barrens Tribune was that at the end of the meeting, well after the executive session, at minute 58 of part 3 of your recording, the deputy mayor actually raised the issue of closing that road and asking the county to go do it. Why did you not correct me? You should have. You had no reason not to. The fact that you're hiding information, and it's all public, Mr. Attorney, sir, you look very confused about my comment. Minute 58, part 3, it's on the website right before we almost get ran out. There's no reason for you to not mention that and correct me at the time. It would have made me look bad for not knowing it, and it would make you look good. There's no reason not to. Tonight, you've had a number of people already complain about the fact that you don't answer comments or anything. Before you even went into executive session, right here, you're talking about, you went for pending litigation involving Borough L 77424. I am a licensed attorney, I know how to look this up, most people don't. Who are the litigants here? Is it the case about the building? Is it the case that I know Fran Brooks mentioned she has against you guys? Is it some other case? This is public information, there's no reason to not say, this is about the building, or this is about the Fran Brooks lawsuit. If you're not going to be open about, I don't want to say these are trivial things, but pieces of information that are already public domain, you're just hiding them, you're obfuscating them. There's no reason not to. If you do that, how are people going to trust you when it comes to the important decisions? That's all I have. Thank you.
William Revens, 23 Hawkins Road. Couple quick things. One, 2 months ago, February, I believe, there was a number of residents here, and we were talking about a resolution for the DEP not to adopt the new map for Warden. At the end of that meeting, as per the minutes, Ms. Stone mentioned that she thought stricter enforcement was a way to go, which would lead me to believe that she was not in favor of a new map. And Mr. Moore said, I believe that it's in the DEP's hands, so we'll let them see what they come up with, which is contrary to why everyone was here, because we wanted to get a resolution going to show the DEP that as a bordering town of the forest, that we were not in favor of it. I don't know if that went anywhere. I haven't been here in the past couple of meetings. I didn't see the minutes. I don't know. Page 11 on this is interesting to me, because what it's saying is that a health inspector came to the township building and that there was raw sewage on top of the septic tank. And then they issued a violation notice. So, and that was on the 17th. So, and I hope I'm wrong, but there was raw sewage coming out of the ground at the Public Works building. Nobody knew, nobody did anything, and the health inspector happened to come that day and see. That's what happened, I guess. I don't know. It seems very bizarre to me, but I mean, you know, strange things happen. I don't know. And that's about all I have. But the resolution for Warden was a simple thing. It wouldn't have cost anything. It wouldn't have offended anyone, and it would have made all the folks that were here that day very happy. And I guess, for reasons unbeknownst to me, that was not a good idea, although I still think that it was. Thank you.
hall, I mean, obviously, I'm in favor of not demoing it, but I might have missed something, I might be misinformed on this, but was it ever considered that, okay, if it does have to be demoed, why do we have to have this new building on this new piece of land and everything? You know, was there a resolution, was it possible to build another building in the same location? I know I heard that tabled by someone, but I don't know if I missed if there was a reason that, you know, a new town hall couldn't be reconstructed in that area if, you know, God forbid it did end up having to be demoed, you know, against everyone's wishes. So that's my biggest question on that. The other thing I have discussed isn't on here, and I don't know if everybody knows about it, but I have heard, and I haven't researched this yet, that the Boy Scout camp on Buttersworth Boggs there's talks about rezoning a portion of it to be residential, housing. And if that's true, I mean, that's like insane, because, I mean, you can't ride anything, you can't drive through the forest, and, you know, everybody wants to shut everything down, and if that, you know, if that is true, we're gonna go in there and just mow all that down and build houses in there, you know, and that directly affects me. And, you know, Sammy, I know you own property right there, and I don't know if that's your property that we're talking about rezoning or whatever, or if it's the Boy Scout camp, but I've heard, you know, some scuttlebutt here about that, and if you know right where I live, you know it's directly behind me, and that causes, you know, me really not to wanna live where I live if I'm gonna have all these people living in there, complaining about all the noise I make, I make a lot of noise. You know, so that's a big thing, and, I think that was about it. Yeah, and I, you know, I agree with Bill's little, Willie's, that's a little weird with the whole septic thing in the memo. But yeah, I would love to know if anybody else knows, my main thing with town hall is that if it was considered to rebuild another building there, that's it. And I'd also like to know more, Sam, on a personal level, if you've ever heard anything.
I haven't, I just talked to Bill today,
Okay.
the camp director, and he never said nothing to me about it.
Okay.
And I haven't heard anything. It's wetlands anyway, you can't do anything with that.
Yeah, well, I know, money changes things.
Answer your question, the Boy
Okay,
Scout.
hold on, folks, please, just a minute, so,
The Boy Scout, I'm on the land use board too, I've been on the land use board for 30 years. Nothing has come before the board, it will have to come before the board. That, I believe, the Boy Scout camp in the core area? The Boy Scout camp in the core?
Yes.
It's in the core area.
yeah, preservation. I
The
think.
preservation area.
Preservation.
That zoning's not gonna be changed, mine, I can almost guarantee that.
Okay.
There's nothing at all, you know, a lot of rumors start, but,
Yeah,
that's not gonna happen.
gotta ask the question, you know, when you hear it.
Especially being it in the core area,
All right.
preservation zone.
I appreciate
And
it.
also about the town hall, the discussions back in the fall, you know, when there was 5 people in the audience,
Yeah.
unfortunately. We did discuss a lot about, building the town hall. I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice. About town hall and the site, and I looked very hard enough with Mr. Boyd and other people, for the size of the property, to build a town hall with a meeting room that we would need. The septic dilution would not fit on that size property. The town hall is there with a septic system that is, God knows how old.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's not
I
built
can't
today.
speak intelligently on that, but I know.
It's not built,
At least one of the
unfortunately, it's not built
can.
today to
Yeah.
today's standards. And we looked at a lot of issues, especially, what it would take to, there's one issue to renovate the town hall to be used as like a community center, and the cost of that. And there's another cost to renovate it for a public meeting space upstairs. And that would almost, even if we were able to do it with a septic system, which we can't because of the size, that meeting hall also would require, anyways between double and triple the price. Because you would, number one, you would need a commercial elevator. And the upstairs would have to be, fire suppression. And because we're not on city water, that would require a 2 to 300-gallon pump,
500 gallon.
500-gallon minute pump, and a 10,000-gallon holding tank. I mean, to look at all that, that's why the new building that they're looking at is only 1 story. So no, back in when this whole process started, actually before I've only been on for a year and a half now, or almost a year and a half, even before that, it was looked at seriously. And because of those extra costs is why it went to it. Now, I was fine, it took me a while, but I was finally convinced that, yeah, we're better off doing it at a new spot as to trying to do that. But I still believe we need to save that town hall as a community center.
I appreciate it, thank you.
Please take your name now, Judge.
Darren Ross, everyone.
Thank you.
Hi, I wanted to bring up, the Wharton, resolution again. 10 out of 13 towns have passed one. We're the gateway to the Pines, and we're one of 3 who haven't. How does that make sense? Okay? In February, Ms. Stone said she wants to wait and see what the DEP is going to do. Okay, wait and see, look what it's done to Town Hall. You waited and it kept deteriorating. If you keep waiting on this, we are going to lose our forest. It's inevitable. So I'm gonna ask you again to please pass the resolution against the DEP road closures. Thank you.
New item?
No, hold on, keep the public comment going. Anyone else make public comment?
What about the DP?
Yeah, ma'am.
Leslie Schmidt, 220 Oak Street Road. I'm wanting to speak about Town Hall. You made a comment to the news that it wasn't fiscally responsible to fix Town Hall. But if you boil it down and you look at the numbers, you have a Dowley who's willing to give 1.5 million. You still have some money left from the other referendum that was provided. There are grants open for that. That will not cost this town $9 million that you're up to for the new town hall. Started at 13 million. You shaved it off and said you brought it down to 8. It's back up to 9. Next week it'll be up again because of construction costs. Save town hall. Do what we're asking. We voted for you to be our voice. Listen to us. Let's not keep going head to head because it's not going to be a happy ending. We're not happy. We want you to hear us. We want you to listen to us that we don't want the new building. We want town hall to be safe. If you're concerned that 150 people here are not enough voice at Tabernacle, put it on a referendum and put it to vote. The building's not going to fall down. If you're concerned it's going to fall down, shore it up. Brace it if you need to, but it's not going anywhere. It's been there for 150 years, survived earthquakes, storms, tornadoes. It's not going anywhere. Hear what we're saying. Hear what we're asking. We voted for you to be our voice, not just to spend our money. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else make public comment?
Ray McCarty, 368 Tuckerton Road. Right now I'm speaking as a private citizen. I saw comments from Mayor Hartman on the Channel 6 website. He lamented the state of the old town hall and said that the sad state of the building was not solely his administration's doing, and that the neglect of many previous administrations contributed to it. He's right. There's plenty of blame to go around for many of us in this room. In many public buildings, like schools, there are maintenance staffs that routinely go into basements and other engineering spaces. They notice deficiencies before they become serious problems. In our old building, there was not a staff that routinely made the rounds, and not having to do that. We can't expect, we can't blame the regular office workers for not going down to a musty old basement, since they had no need to, nor have the insights to notice structural issues. The septic system is another issue that somebody ought to be looking at this stuff. So, the old building, the problem is what to do about it. The questions we face are, is the building really in imminent danger of collapse? We need more than professional opinions for this. We need a report that suggests an immediate mode of failure. Old wooden structures usually do not fail catastrophically. They lean, they twist, pieces fall off. There's an old farmhouse near me that's been standing for untended for 50 years. It's a great spot for sunset pictures. So if the town hall is unstable, can it safely be stabilized until plans or decisions decided? If it is not unstable, what preservation options are possible? What are their costs? Is the public willing to pay the price? Is the destruction of a beloved part of our town and our history the only choice? Now I'm speaking as the chairman of our Land Development Board. I don't know how the judge is going to decide the citizens' lawsuit against you. If by chance it is referred to the LPB, you can rest assured you will get the same fair treatment and due process that all our applicants get. We vote on the evidence, not on our personal feelings, and we'll give you more than 4 minutes.
Now, let's make public comment.
DEP issue?
Hey, I've been Patrick Duff, Haddon Heights, rabble rouser, blog. I'm sure you've seen me online. Listen, I'm glad you guys showed up today. Part of what I do is turn up the heat in politics, and it looks like somebody couldn't take it. And that's okay, because she made a bad decision. And when you make a bad decision and you can't stand up in front of the audience, that means maybe you're not cut out for it. And as people, I know you're residents of this town for a long time, you all are. I have probably never seen such an awesome town come out and fight for something. Most towns, like 5 or 6 people show up. The Carnes, you had a couple people show up here and there in Medford. You got hundreds of people out here. You guys, I mean, you either did something really wrong or doing something really right. But here's what I want to comment on. I'm a historian too, like the other gentleman. I'm trying to save the Martin Luther King House in Camden. Nobody knew about that. What I didn't know about, by the way, was that eugenics, the whole eugenics movement, started with a book about a woman from the Pinelands. A book called The Kalilka Family, K-L-I-L-I-K family. And that book was written in 1912 by a Harvard-trained professor who studied a woman from the Pine Barrens and her family. And they decided that all these people that were in this family were born and bred hereditary criminals, prostitutes, inbreds, imbeciles. Now that book, if you don't know your history, and I didn't even know, led to 60,000 people in America being sterilized. That book then led to copies being printed in German and led to the Nazis killing 12 million people in concentration camps. From that book, now I'm going to read the comments from the, this is from your deputy mayor, and I'm going to ask that you all better ask this woman to resign, and if you don't, maybe these, I don't know. It says, there is actual truth to the Pineys being incestuous, illiterate, mentally deficient, inbred imbeciles, supposedly responsible for generations of morons and prostitutes. Fascinating, I tell you. That's your deputy mayor. Yeah, no wonder why she's not here. And what she posted when I right before that, beware of making deals with the devil. She's talking about me. For he will always find a way to collect his debts. Well, what I told you last time, when we passed that resolution, I said it very clearly. I said, you are going to get a lawsuit. I said that. And guess what? Raised money, And guess what? You got a lawsuit, and you lost. You never thought you'd lost. And I know Mr. Burns is saying, I know what we could do. It's called the Robert Moses Rule. As long as we start this demolition, get him in there and going, the judge won't say no. But you know what the judge didn't do? He didn't believe you, Mr. Boyd. And I'm going to say something, Mr. Boyd, I've been doing this for a while, and you are my new project. And I'll tell you why. Because when I came up to you at the building the other day and I asked you, well, how is it that the asbestos is being remediated when that wasn't in the proposal from RICO? You guys gave them another contract somehow to do asbestos remediation and paid them without any bids. And I said, well, where's, no, I said, on the proposal it doesn't show any asbestos remediation. You said, well, have you seen the contract? And I said, well, I did an Oprah from the contract. And Miss Mary Alice Brown said one doesn't exist. And you know what he said? Oh, yes, you did. It's in the Oprah, I can read it. One does not exist unless he answered it for you.
What I said was, is we had not yet received it.
Really? Really? No, one does not exist. And you said to me, maybe it does, maybe it does, and maybe it doesn't. You need to take control of your town's mayor, get control of that guy who's going after the farming center.
Stop, please. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Mr.
You
Duff.
really need to communicate with your citizens.
I do believe this town runs on Robert's rules. I'm deferring my time to Mr. Duff.
Please, Mr. Duff.
Thank you.
Robert's rules of deferring time applies to members of the.
Nobody else had a time limit.
Sir,
People have all rights.
Sir, I've attended hundreds of these meetings. I've deferred my
Can you
time.
state your name and address?
My name is
please?
Mary Ann Holland.
Thank you.
I have lived in the Pinelands since I took my first breath. I've been hundreds of these meetings. I've been involved in Pinelands issues my whole life. I have never seen a body not allow deferring time under Robert's rules ever. So I'm respectfully requesting that this body observe their own rules. Patrick? And if anybody else would like to.
All right, so hey, listen, this is the good part. This is the good part. This is where everything comes together. Kumbaya moment, right? Have her resign. You ask for her resignation.
Yep.
I mean, the deal is there's going to be an independent inspector going in there, no matter if you like it or not now. And when that comes back and shows that the building is structurally sound, somebody's probably going to be in trouble. So what about just possibly start seeking all the new, the lifting and moving the building, and maybe you can avoid anybody getting in trouble for that inspection by having people come in and say, hey, you know what? Maybe the lawyers have agreed to not have to need the inspection because the township's agreed not to destroy the building. Save all that money, right? Save all that money. You're looking for the open request? I'm sure. The open request is that no contract exists.
Business on my phone, but
But yeah, I'm saying that because I think that's the solution. The solution is you don't want to destroy it now. I mean, politics is bad. Well, whatever you're doing on there is operable. You guys should know that. Anytime you're using your phone at a meeting, you can Oprah what's happening on the phone. And oh, let me say that too. You have former committee members that come and they told me that you professionals tell them to not use email so they can avoid being Oprah, so people can't see what they're talking about. That's illegal. You can't, I mean, you can do it, you can't say it. You know? It's like, it's fraud, it's, you know, you're committing, the whole thing is this, listen, as I said, just do yourself a favor, consider the moving of the building, consider what the people want, and consider just removing Natalie Stone from office, because I think that's the issue here. I don't know what happened to you two. I don't know if there's some sort of witchcraft or something, voodoo. Guys, come back to your senses, man. That post was about you.
Yep.
Gary Sullivan, Ozark Town, 38 years construction. How do you look at yourselves and let people win a building you're telling me is falling down and working? The liability is insane. You're telling everybody here it's gonna fall in the road, and you're letting people go in there to go to work. Explain that to me. If we don't explain it.
Yeah, Alan, how you doing? Joe Martin, Waltham Drive. First thing I want to do is talk about the memo that Mary Alice sent to the committee about the sewage problem that you have at your complex. There's a real easy solution to this. You don't have to go down to Woodland and have her negotiate a contract with herself for Woodland Township to move all your people down there. We have Sequoia High School is connected to the septic system at the grammar school, at the middle school. When we built the rescue squad building, the school came to us and they wanted us to connect the rescue squad building to that sewer system for the added flow. Sequoia High School doesn't have all those students in them. The nonprofit that's in there probably has half of the people in that building that was in the building when there were students there. So, conclusion, there's probably room to put a septic line from your facility right to the corner of Carranza and Tabernacle Road and connect to the school's septic system and solve this problem real quick. With that, when I was on committee, we had a workshop and we looked at the future of Town Hall and Town Center. At the time, we did a study with our engineer and our public works administrator, Mr. Kramer, and it was determined there was more than enough land at the landfill to move public works there. And we had a plan to do that, but we said we're gonna wait until the rescue squad bond is paid off. And that bond is coming up shortly, right? So we never got there. Now we have the problem with Town Hall. The last year I was on committee, we found out about Town Hall. I hear you can't upgrade the building to modern standards because you have to put a 10,000 gallon tank for a sprinkler system. No, you could do that with a separate well. If you move the public works over to the dump, you would have enough pervious coverage to create whatever stormwater management you need. You could build a new foundation, move the building over, bring it up to code, and use the building as a town hall, and you won't have to build an $8 million Taj Mahal down on and in the future, get some open space public money to develop that to a park. It won't cost this township anything to do that in the future. Now, I was going to take you to task for the traffic control plan that you did submit to the county, and the county sent you back comments, and you never implemented their comments. I talked to Joe Brickley today. He told me you're completely out of compliance the way your traffic control plan is. Drive east, west, north, south on 206 Tabernacle Road, Carranza Road, and tell me where the detour takes you. Doesn't take you anywhere. There is no detour. Fortunately, you're going to open the road because my greatest fear is last meeting I heard from parents whose kids go to Seneca High School that were scared to death their kids were going to get in a crash across Wyatt Road because they can't go down Tabernacle Road. Luckily, that's going to be resolved when you open up the building. But again,
$8 million, you got a proposal from your architect for $600 or $585,000, $585 with a $60,000 contingency just for phase one of the Taj Mahal that you want to build. That firm's gonna make over $600,000 off the people that pay the taxes in this town to design you a building. There's cookie cut buildings all over the place that you can put up. My last comment has to do with my friend Ray McCarthy. Last meeting, Mr. Mayor, I think you disrespected him. He was here as the chairman of the Land Development Board, reading a letter that Mr. Frank sent, and you cut him off. Now, why wasn't that letter in your packet? Because the month before, a letter from the deputy mayor's husband was in there about the good deeds he wants to do through his company. There was a letter in there from the NJ Department of Labor. There was a letter in there from your architect. Why wasn't Mr. Frank's letter in your packet? You're not showing transparency, and then the chairman gets up to speak, tell you what's in the letter, and you cut him off. That is embarrassing and disrespectful. I got a lot of respect for this man. I sat on that board with him for 8 years. My last comment is, Mr. Mayor, did you see the quote on Channel 3 News that had your statement there? Did you see it? Did you write that statement?
You did.
You did, okay. And in that statement, you didn't talk about anything about rebuilding the building. You talked about fiscal, which is money, and tearing the building down. That was your only concern, was the money. If the money is the object, you could do the plan that I just told you for half of the $8 million. Have a town hall, keep your town center, and make all these people happy. And as far as the Oprah request, you know, I hear, oh, we get so many Oprah requests. Well, if you would answer everyone's questions instead of saying, thank you for your comments after 4 minutes, you wouldn't get so many.
Last one, public comment? Oh, sorry.
That's okay, no, go ahead, I'll go after you.
You're talking about town hall, I'm talking
No,
about.
I'm not talking about that.
I'm going to office.
Okay, I'll clutch that for you too. Hi, Kathy Berger, 18 Woodside Drive. My first statement I'm reading is actually on behalf of Mrs. Brooks, Moores Meadow Road. Deputy Mayor Stone, Shane Schneider tonight, said in a 2020 internet post the following: there is actual truth to Piney's being incestuous, illiterate, mentally deficient, inbred, imbecile, subtly responsible for generations of morons and prostitutes. What's moronic and imbecilic is that you repeat ancient stories written by outsiders as if there is evidence to support such stories. 2, you move into a community without bothering to understand or learn about it, and think that you should unilaterally decide what's historically significant and what isn't. Your classless comments and behavior are deeply insulting and unbecoming to an elected official of Tabernacle. You should resign immediately. And you, Sammy, this isn't for me, your roots go back generations in Tabernacle, and you support Natalie Stone and what she says. You should be ashamed of yourself and resign. In addition, the agenda doesn't show a report on the injunction against Tabernacle. Why isn't Mr. Burns reporting on the injunction which halts demolition of historic town hall and establishes a responsible procedure for evaluating the building? Friday's court decision supports everything residents have said about your senseless enthusiasm to destroy this important building. That's the end of Mrs. Brooks' statement. I have a couple comments and questions this evening. For the last 2 meetings, I've heard Committeeman McNaughton ask about a budget meeting, about setting dates, and the administrator responds, I'll contact you about some dates. I want to know if it's been set up yet, or if there's been a meeting. Thank you.
There'll be a meeting next week.
Thank you. I would suggest if we're going to stay here and have 100+ people in this room, we get a better sound system. It's very hard to hear when you all discuss stuff. And I think for transparency, we'd like to hear what's going on. Hawkins Road, Mr. Lemire talked about the Memorial Day parade and saying you guys had said there's residents who want to have it on Hawkins. We can't have it on Hawkins because if there's rain, there's not going to be a place to sit and watch because the drainage is too bad. We need to address it first. That's all I have this evening. Thank you.
addressing the committee.
Can you please state your name and address for the record?
You know who I am, I'm Brian Serafini. I'm going to Mr. Tom West in regards to Hawkins Road, since you guys can't answer any questions. You said that there's engineering plans, surveying that you need to do on our road now. You got $8,000 worth of money to do this survey. When Pinoni put these things in, these drains in, was there an end result when all the measurements should have been done? Was it done?
You mean as-built?
Yes.
As-built plan?
Was it completed?
No.
Why?
It wasn't part of the contract. We picked up the contract from the previous engineer.
So you have no recollection of any of these
Dimensions
numbers
for
or
what?
anything?
I'm not sure what, dimensions for what?
Well, where these culverts and inlets were placed, and why are we spending another $8,000 on resurveying the road when it was, should have been done 2 years ago when we finished putting these in? That's my question. Number two, I wanna know what kind of safety, implements you're gonna put on our road. You're gonna put rumble strips, you're gonna put speed bumps, you're gonna put signs on it, you're gonna say, meet our judge when you go past 25. We're paying overtime to 3 troopers here to protect these roads here. Why don't you put troopers on our road and see what's going on here? You don't live on this road. There's always 25 miles an hour down this road every morning. Every morning. And nothing's being done. But we'll sit at town hall and write tickets out. We'll sit at the church and write tickets out. It's ridiculous. And nothing's being done about it. So when you put your engineering program together, whatever you're gonna do, I wanna know what's going on as far as the implementation of rumble strips, speed bumps, signage on the road, flashing lights on the road, weight restrictions on the road. And then, number 3, I wanna know if it's just coincidental that Seneca is moving their tennis courts right now, or is the bigger picture that you still want to put a circle at the end of the road, and you're not being transparent with us with that?
I don't think anybody in the township really knows about the Seneca tennis courts.
Oh, so there's no one knows that they're moving the tennis courts?
The first time any of us are hearing it.
Okay, all right, so you're not re-engineering the end of the road?
I have no knowledge of anything you're talking about.
Okay, all right. All right, so did the county, instead of paying 3 troopers to be here on overtime, can we, the committee, get them to sit on our road and pay them overtime out of my tax money, everybody's tax money? Because somebody's gonna get killed out here. None of you guys have to wake up to this. My house is shaking now. Shaking. I have dump trucks, triaxles with excavators on it, loaded 80,000-pound trucks coming down this road. And that's okay. Let's send them past your house, Mr. Hartman. So let's send them down your dirt road, Sammy. Let's do that. Because you don't have to worry about it. It doesn't affect you. It affects me, Brian Serafini, and my residents on this street. And no one seems to care. It's going to get repaid. Oh, we have to wait for grant money. There's never any answers here. Never any answers. It's kick the can down the road. It's the same as town hall. It's just kick it down the road. I need answers. I want to see what's going on here. I want to see what Mr. Alessi's going to provide for us in an engineering. Have we gotten started on that? Did we give him a check for $8 grand yet?
Thank you for your time, sir.
Get him, Joe. Joe Matarese, 329 Perez Road. Been in this town 47 years. Raised my family here. My family's raising their family here. Don't tear this friggin' building down. You know how many Memorial Day parades we'd sit, gather? You're just, guys are losing the picture of this town, and you especially, Sam. I'm very disappointed in you. And everybody. So that's what I wanted to say. Don't tear it down. I don't care how much deformation is in the beams, how much deterioration on the foundation. It can be fixed. It can be repaired. This gentleman even said it. It's done all the time. So let's just do it and make everybody here happy. Thank you.
Denise Tollefson, 524 Ocean Road. I'd just like to echo what Mr. Mallory said. My husband and I bought here 2 structures down in 1980. These are our roots, multi-generational, tiny. Both sides grew blueberry farms in Southampton and Pemberton, and have found some of the recent writings and comments deeply concerning and offensive. Our grandson is now growing up in Tabernacle. That building feels like an anchor to our family. Please see.
Anyone else like to public comment?
Roseanne McCarty, Tuckerton Road. If you all were longtime residents, including Ms. Stone, who's not here tonight, you should have known and had the vision that the people in this town would want this building restored. Prior to purchasing the Russo property, and I'm not sure if that's a done deal or not, but if it is, planning to build a new complex, which by the way, we do not want, nor do we want to pay for it. You should have consulted an engineering firm that specifically specializes in restoring historic buildings. We would appreciate an engineering report from one who is experienced in preserving historical buildings. Then provide the details of each step on how this building can be restored from the bottom up. Then compare the cost of what you want to spend on a new building. How many historical buildings did your engineer give a estimate on? How many, the engineer that you hired, did they have a specific experience in restoring old buildings? We pay your salaries, you work for us, and this is what we want. We want our building restored. Thank you.
Anyone else like to public comment?
Dave Dempsey, I'm a resident of Waterford Township. I'm here to talk about lack of trust of government officials these days. Going back a few weeks ago, we requested a resolution against the DEP map. And it was basically a wait and see what they had to say with the comments, public comments. The New Jersey DEP has lied to us numerous times. They rented out the Hamilton High School auditorium, performed a public apology for overstepping their boundaries. Here we are again with more restrictions of Pine Barrens road closures. They had a public comment session a few months back where they openly admitted to taking public comments and not using them because people claim that they used all of the roads within Warden State Forest. So that's why we're requesting townships to pass resolutions against this, because there's a public lack of trust for our government. So once again, I am looking into a resolution against the new DEP plan. And then, yeah, as far as the town hall, I'm from Waterford. I really can't say too much, but what I can say, I attend the Waterford Township meetings. We don't have this problem over there. They have a tendency to listen. They have a tendency to be for the people, be for the majority of the people of their township. It would be awesome to see another Pine Barrens community do the same. Thank you.
Name's, Doris Underwood. I live on Route 206. I've been here 67 years. And I don't know if you realize what the town hall means to people that live here all their lives. But I have no family. My son died. What I have left of my whole life is that house I grew up in this town. And I should have got involved sooner, but now I'm gonna be involved because that building means so much to so many of us. You don't understand, but I don't know if you care, but I wish you really would care. Because that is the heart of our town. That's all our memories. That's our whole lives. So please reconsider. Thank you.
Anyone else think about that?
Alan Rose again. I run a very large site on the internet, the towns and villages of the New Jersey Pinelands. I probably drive, I don't know, a couple thousand miles down the Pinelands on the roads. I have 2 Jeeps. I'm not a mudder by no means, I'm a historian. And I research a lot of history in the Pines, old foundations, old villages, Washington, Mount. I mean, it goes on and on and on. But I read those maps in the DEP, and they don't approach at all the roads between Atson and Batstow, and if they don't approach, they have no map from Atson to Martha, those areas there, and it's real silent there. And I don't know if they choose not to bring that up to the public, if they're gonna close it, or they're gonna leave them wide open. But getting from Atson, when you're out traveling, bringing a family or whatever, whether you're hunting, family, historian, whatever, and you go from Atson, you've gotta be able to get to Batstow. You have to go from Atson, say, to Martha and Calico, and all these historical villages in the New Jersey Pinelands. And I was one of the rebel rousers that got the 2,000 people in Hamilton High School, and then they backed off. So here we are, 5 years later, and there's people that want to close the roads again. And they're hell-bent. I mean, there's people there who would like to put a big fence around the Pinelands if they probably could do it, but they can't. So, long story short is, it would be nice, I didn't know about the 10 resolutions versus the 3 resolutions that did not happen. And us being the gateway to the Pinelands, it surrounds us, we're a Pinelands village, it goes on and on and on. It would be my position, with the 12,000 people that follow me, to keep them roads open. And boy, I'll tell you, I've been getting a lot of emails about that. And if whoever's linked to closing them roads, their political career is gonna be done. And so, like to see the Pinelands open, like to see the roads remain open, and tell them that you do not support the DEP. Like I said, there's all these people that would love going out there, and there's handicapped people, there's old people like me that are 70 years old that can't walk 5 miles or 4 miles. They got hiking trails, right? The Potomac Trail, they got all the hiking trails, but there are other people that just want to bring their family out, whether they bring a bottle of wine out there, they bring a blanket, a picnic basket, or whatever they may do. But if they start closing up the roads, it's been my experience, once you stop using roads, the Pinelands eats them up. So part of leaving the roads open helps keeping them wide enough that somebody can get back there. Now you talk about emergency, I've had a committee person talk about emergency responders and things like that. Well, the truth of the matter is there's not a real lot of people that don't go out there that aren't prepared, whether they got winches or, you know, way to fix their tire or jump their car, whatever. So if you start abandoning these roads because of the chiggers and the ticks, you can't even walk. So the roads are important for people to hike. They're important for people to hike, that they don't have to go through the thick brush. And once you start closing roads up, then you can't really get to a lot of the stuff without, you know, collecting ticks and jiggers. And I beg you once again to support a resolution to condemn the DEP rule, because they're hell-bent at closing that. And we'll do this, and 5 years from now, the people up there will try to close it down again. But it takes vigilance, and you have to attack the situation and say, now, we're gonna try to leave what roads we have open. I don't know, that's it. And the last thing is, you gotta hear this. I'm a code official. Historical buildings have a lot of wiggle room for regulations.
Okay, thank
Tom
you.
Boyd will tell you that.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Hi, Erin Delaney, 67 Mary. I have a quick question actually for you, Mr. Burns, or maybe Mrs. Brown. On the website, where is the rule that you can't have self-your time? You said it was under Robert's rule, correct?
Yes, resolution 2024-1.
On the township site? So you've adopted a rule specifically for Tabernacle Township that we can't hand off our time? It's there.
Resolution 2024-1.
I heard you.
It's on the township.
Well, I can't actually get past most of the things. Every time I switch pages, it comes up with another road closed.
On the agenda in January 3rd or 2nd of this year.
And everybody voted on that?
There is a mistake in it because it wasn't amended. It still says 2 minutes, but that was amended before.
We did the motion here to amend it to 4 minutes.
And then another quick question, when did we notice that they were starting to fail there? Because it wasn't pumped out, I think we paid the bill in January? What do you know?
We'll be talking about that in the next couple of minutes.
Okay, that who's handling it?
We'll be talking about it.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Mayor?
Lance Sullivan, Valerie Way, City of Reserve. I just wanted to point out to you with the memo, and I made the statement to you guys before about good judgment comes from accurate information with regards to the septic system. With the options, there is no dollar amount listed with the option number 1, which it says, you know, Mr. Boyd is against, but it talks about purchasing a pump and from frequent pump out. So in order to make a great decision, I think you would need that number as well as the number for what Woodland Township would charge you for rent. You have what the quotes would be to replace the bathroom, so I think you would need those numbers too to make sure that you make a great decision. Thank you.
Anyone else? Any public comment? Oh, sorry.
Bonnie Jones, Holly Park Drive. I just want to say how disappointed I am in this committee. You work for us, you do not respect us, and I would like to defer the rest of my time to Mary Ann Holloway.
There's a resolution amendment of 2024. You're ahead of your time, so
I'll let
thank
her
you.
speak.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
No, thank you all. You're ahead of your
She didn't have a full 4 minutes.
I had 1 minute left in the first time.
Do you know what? Thank you. I appreciate it. I just had I'm gonna make it short and brief. On April 3rd, I came before the board and brought up the regulations and laws that before anything can be done with that building, the Pinelands Commission had to have an application, had to grant permission. I did an Oprah from the Pinelands, and yes, you were going back and forth, and there was some documentation there. Looks like going back to 2021, your thoughts were to rip down the building. On April 4th, the day after the land use board meeting, the attorney for the land use board wrote a letter to town council. It was directed to put you on notification that the Pinelands needed to be notified. On April 8th, you received a letter from the Pinelands stating that they were going to require a structural engineering report along with, and/or the licensing, the licensing requirements from the other gentleman that did it. Mr. Moore and Mr. Boyd, you got that letter the morning of the last board meeting where you had people begging you to do a structural engineering report. You knew that morning that you were required to do it by the Pinelands. Yet you put the township people through a meeting and then voted to have the structural engineering report done when you already knew from the Pinelands that you were required to do it. So, and the letter is there, it's dated April 8th, it's part of the record, anybody can go and look at it. In January, we passed a bond for $8 million to build the new building. I'm wondering how much of that bond has been spent, where the money is, how you knew in January to pass the bond if there were no estimates, if the town hall hadn't been, if there was no resolution to it yet, why there was no incorporation of money to fix the town hall. I read 2 engineering reports. One was for $1.6 million and one was for $2.4 million. Both structural engineering, $800,000 apart. One of those 2 companies owe you a refund because you can't be $800,000 apart on the same structure. So I saw the bill from Pinoni's, $8,300. I'm watching this happen. There will probably be a lot of inquiries into where the money is and how a bond got passed without actual estimates of costs and why it got passed. So I'm up here, when you set forth engaging the public and people, your constituents, and they entrust in you just the safety and the heritage of their town, they're trusting you. I don't think there's a person in this room that had you been straight up and you said right at the beginning of the meeting, look, we're already ordered to do the engineering report. We've already got this handled. Thank you for your attendance. It's going to be done. That anybody would have said a word. So all I'm trying to say to you is, no matter what happens in the political realms, there will be people that will find out the paper trail, and there are going to be people that understand what's happening. It's just better to be upfront, because I'm not understanding how the bond got passed without a formal plan in place with estimates, and now we're doing engineering and the bond is there. So that is my comment. I'm sure there's going to be more people asking for the chain of money. I'm not saying anybody's absconding. I'm not saying any of that. I'm not saying anything illegal is happening. I'm just saying it's baffling.
Great, thank you for your comment.
I'll be brief. I don't need my time. Carl Delaney, Motorsport Bob's Road. Regarding the DEP proposal for closure of the roads, a couple thoughts. First of all, I ask you to actually prepare a resolution and hold a vote on it so that I can see which members of the committee vote for it and which vote against it. Secondly, before you vote, I suggest members determine whether they might have a potential financial conflict because they might be receiving financial compensation from the DEP. That's all. Thank you.
Jonathan Scott, I live at 27 New Road. I'm gonna be a little more generous than some of the people you've heard from. I don't think you made a bad decision at this time you made the decision. I think what you didn't have was the input of all of us. What you're hearing now is a cry to do something different from the decision that you made. And it sounds to me like it doesn't matter the price, it doesn't matter the cost. Don't take down the building. Fix it somehow, whichever way you can. We were asleep at the wheel when you were making your decisions. We didn't care. I was one of 3 people that attended the land development hearing a couple weeks ago. One of 3. This isn't 3. So, I don't know where those people were during that land development meeting. But, you guys have to heed what the people are saying. Now, I want to say one more thing. I'm a home builder. I build a lot of homes, not in this jurisdiction. I've come in contact with a lot of inspectors. And I'll tell you what, the inspector that we have in this town is an asset to this town. And whoever puts up the sign, they don't know what they're saying. So, heed the advice of the people, do what you have to do, spend the money to save the building, even if it costs $8 million. That's what they're saying, because they'd rather have the building than the new one. That's all.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, we'll close out public comment. So, I need to get a motion for approval of the opening of the road to Tabernacle.
I'll make that a motion.
I'll second.
To be clear, to be clear, just like the last, I think it was Mr. Schreiber. I think it was Mr. So just like with the road closures, it's gonna be conditioned on, just like the road closure, the opening is gonna be conditioned on Burlington County, since it's a Burlington County road, just to be, and you get absolutely clear. They authorize the closure, they have to authorize the reopen. We'll follow up with them tomorrow if the resolution passes.
Roll call.
Mr. Sprague?
Yes.
Mr. McNaughton?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes. All right, approval of minutes, there is none. Submission of bills and claims, $1,572,959.34. Get a motion for that?
I'll make the motion. Second.
Discussion? All right, roll call.
Mr. Sprague? Mr. McNaughton?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mayor Hartman?
Yes. All right, new business and ordinances.
Okay, as explained and discussed, the septic system, which we have been having on and off problems with for years, from what I've been told, has finally failed. We have sewage on the ground where the tank in the backyard, backfield, is overflowing. We had it pumped a month ago? 3 months ago, 3 weeks ago. And it is already filled to the top above where the field line is. Public Works reported it to me. I spoke with Mr. Boyd. Mr. Boyd had to issue an unsanitary condition and a UCC notice. It had to be reported to the Board of Health. The Board of Health came out, issued the violation notice that you see here. We have tried to work quickly to get options. As Mr. Saunders said, I do not have all the pricing in here. I was just trying to quickly throw some ideas together because at this point we have a very risky facility. The option of going to Woodland is a temporary thought. I do not have a contract. I benefit nothing from it. It's closer for me to come to Tabernacle than it is to go to Woodland, so I was able to pull our Mr. Bob because we have a contract with them for the porta potties. They were able to provide a number very quickly, as was Demeglio Septic. I have started talking with the engineer. We need to get an engineer to come in to look at the system to see if it can be repaired or if it has to be rehabbed, rehabilitated. At this point, from what I have been told by people that know way more than me about septic, the administration offices have a pipe length. Once that pipe length is full, it's gonna start flowing into offices. So, we did have to have it pumped again. The Board of Health, I'm anticipating them coming out to do another inspection. So, I believe the pumping took place on Friday, so it's somewhat empty at this point.
But, I think some of the things that we have to realize around here for this time of year, the amount of rain that we've had, probably, I'm sorry, can't hear me? Sorry. The rain season that we've had, the seasonal high water table is extremely high. The pond in my farm, I never remember it being this high. So I think the problem with the septic, there's been problems off and on there. The main problem with the septic system is the field is probably, the seasonal high water table is up into the field. So as soon as you pump it out, that's gonna come back into your tank. Now I know the Wawa on Route 70, before they hooked up the sewer, they were on a tank for 5 years, and they had it pumped out periodically, until they finally got hooked up with the sewer and that. Why couldn't we know that the field has been bad for a long time. We've been able to live with it. I think the problem this year is because of the seasonal high water table. Now it's starting, my pond's going down about a foot in the last week. Now the table starts to go down this time of year. Why can't we seal off the tank? Just pump it out periodically. Is that an option?
Board of Health will not let us do that.
Won't let us do that.
We have to get an engineer in.
It's amazing when you sit here, when you have to deal with, I know there's an expert over there.
Yes.
When you deal with the Board of Health on these things, what they tell you you can and can't do. But I would like to see that in writing.
Number 3.
If it would've gotten pumped out in the first place, the Board of Health wouldn't be involved.
Mr. McNaughton, if you look at the abatement on the violation notice from
I've never,
the Board of Health,
that was never provided to them.
Yeah, it is.
I'm sorry.
if you look at number 3 under the abatement.
Here.
Okay, so if we get an engineer, and the engineer says, okay, you can seal it off and pump it out.
Then it would be in consultation with the Board of Health, that's my understanding.
Tom, can I ask a question?
Yes, you can.
Somebody said, I guess, the equipment or something's been on top of the septic and all that.
As far as we can tell, there are vehicles that are parked on top of the septic.
And that's possibly, is that probably part of the problem?
A probability of it is that the field itself has been damaged by the vehicles.
I would be surprised if that field is clogged.
I have a feeling.
Any field that old is clogged.
Within a few days, because I told them that if we did need to go with them, it was going to be a quick decision based on what happened here tonight.
Please, everyone, quiet down, please.
I know you quoted, they quoted 18,000 a year, is that by month? Or
It is by month, that was,
By month.
it's by month.
Okay.
That was just the total. It's a $1,500, $1,500 per 28-day rental. That's for a 2 to 3, they base that price based on a 2 to 3 year rental. I have no idea how long this is gonna take. There is a delivery fee of $100. They pump the tank once a week. They can, they deliver it, there is a photo in your packet of what it looks like. They even include the pretty little flowers in the corner.
I've seen these consumers, and they're fairly nice.
It would be one men's unit, one unit, but it's split so that it's separate. One men's unit, toilet with a sink, and a woman's toilet with a sink. When we discussed it, Tom, what was the?
It was, Mr. Harvey, you may not remember, behind the annex, we used to have a mobile storage trailer, and it would fit in that area where the mobile storage trailer was, so that it would be accessible for both public works employees, employees of the township and the trailers, as well as customers that are in there.
So if we get that, we still hire an engineer. I think the engineer that built the septic systems to inspect and see if we can come up with some sort of solution of sealing it off and being able to pump it out.
I think that's good. Yeah. I have a question. You had those trailers there forever. The septic system is working okay. Right now, we're trying to make a decision, again, as we did with the fire pit. Tomorrow, we need the septic system. I don't go over this. I would suggest that we put spotter pots out there, the same as when we do anything public. Summertime's coming, you're not going in the winter, you don't need the Taj Mahal of spotter pots, basic spotter pots. They get pumped, get a price on it, and just not waste more money doing this.
I understand, but there's no water.
Trailers have water.
Trailers will not have water because then it would go into the septic system, which is not permitted to do so. If you look at number 2 on the abatement, it says, use of the system shall cease until repairs or alternatives have been completed in a manner which is satisfactory to the administrative authority, that being the Board of Health.
So what you're saying is you can't use water inside.
We can't use, exactly right. Everything has to be cut off, which is why we need to have the engineer come in. And the trailers that the administrators spoke of would have its own self-contained water for washing the hands.
More discussion? So, I guess we need a vote for the trailers.
Whatever committee sees fit that you would like to do. It sounds like you want to go towards the trailers. Obviously, Mr. Bob is the cheaper of the 2 quotes. We already have an existing account with Mr. Bob because that's who services all of our park porta potties. It's a, like I said, a $1,500 a month charge, $100 delivery fee. So if you want to do the motion to
That can stop
authorize.
at any time.
That can stop at any time, and just make the motion who you want to award it to, and authorize me to set it up.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Hopefully, we can get the engineer and then get something solved quickly, then we're gonna do it for a month or 2.
To Mr. McNaughton, can you amend your motion to say that you want to go with Mr. Bob as opposed to Mr. DeNeglio? And that price, you know, that's what they gave us for a 2-year rental. I can't guarantee that it's gonna be exactly 1,500 if I tell them. It'll be 1 year. I will do my best. Roll call, Mr. Sprague.
No.
Mr. McNaughton.
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes.
Mayor Hartman.
Yes.
Mayor. For just the consideration of the committee, when the engineer comes in to evaluate not only the current system, but in the future, potentially having some type of community center, museum, whatever, that would be able to be tied in, I think would be a prudent measure so that it's not just a 5 or 6 year term, that maybe it could be a longer term, that no, we don't want to spend money, nobody here wants to spend money. I know individuals in this room that have sold their houses, and a lot of them have had to put septic systems in. But if it were to look to the future, that possibly it could be utilized for that purpose with the Village Green concept, it may behoove us to look that way as well. That we just don't look at a.
Yeah, I look into it, but, I don't know exactly behind the system, where to put it, and what's gonna happen to the buildings in the flux.
Totally
Where it's
understand.
gonna move to.
Totally understand, I'm just saying that when, I would assume Mr. Lees would be the point person on that, when he does go out to look at it, that we
Something like that.
put that into consideration.
Mr. Burns, do we need a motion from the committee to authorize Mr. Lees to move forward with whatever?
Yes.
Could I have that motion, please, gentlemen?
What is the motion to tie in, the price to tie into the sewer system, correct? That's what we're talking about. Okay. If we're gonna get an engineer to look at one, we should get a price to tie in, so we know it would be to actually tie in this sewer system.
I thought, well, that's a different issue, let's deal with this motion first.
Let's get a motion to.
Authorize Pannoni and Associates to move forward with, is it in-house or are you gonna have to go out-house? To authorize him to subcontract out the work, to look into an engineer that can research our.
I mean, Mary Alice, we have septic people in our community.
I've spoken to some
I don't know
of
if
them.
that's how we look into that or not.
Yeah, but they won't do anything without an engineer.
So moved.
Roll call?
Mr. Sprague?
Yes.
Mr. McNaught? Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Okay, but talking about this, I would like to, form a committee. I know in the past, there's been talk with the school about moving the, hooking up to their septic system. I know some of the talks have gone well. I would like, I think we should have a committee, go talk to the school, and, talk about the possibilities. So I'd like to be on that committee.
That's what to do?
Huh?
Yeah, I don't have a
I
problem
would
with that.
have with that.
Well, you would have to appoint.
Yes.
Yeah, there needs to be a motion to establish a subcommittee and then.
Yeah, establish a subcommittee, talk to the
Could be
school.
just me or could be whoever else.
You want to do it? Okay.
Absolutely, there should always be two of us on the subcommittee.
Yep. So, Sam and, subcommittee to talk to the school district.
And, I think initially,
Just go talk.
I think it just Sam and I go talk informally and
Okay.
might not be smooth as feathers, I don't know.
So get a motion to approve Sam and Noble and subcommittee? Can I get a second? All right. Roll call?
Mr. Sprague? Mr. McNaught?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes. Old business, no ordinances? Oh, sorry, discussion on stormwater management trees ordinance.
This is not for adoption.
Not for adoption.
Not for introduction.
Not for introduction.
Not for introduction, no. As you know, I was quite upset by the last one was, given to us, which I don't know why it was given to us at the last minute. Because when I looked into it, found out that the first, deadline was, January 1st. And then they moved it to, May 1st, and we only got it last month. Looked into it and formed a committee with Sam and myself. And Mr. Frank from the land use board, who's also solicitor for the town, worked with Springfield and Schumann to come up with a ordinance that would fit the town, because the model ordinance in DEP was ridiculous for a rural town. It was made for a city, you know, not a rural town that doesn't have sidewalks, except for a few developments. Anyway, they came up with something good. Now, the other thing too is, I know the Department of Agriculture is looking into getting this changed, and getting them to change or develop something that's more livable for rural development. And New Jersey Farm Bureau is doing the same thing. So this might change in the meantime. I hope the committee in the next month will look over this and see if there's any thing we changed. We got rid of virtually all the fees. The fees that were the original were absorbent. And their fines, the original one was a $500 fine and or jail time. We changed that to just a $200 fine if you're in violation. Forget the jail time. Kind of ridiculous for a situation like this. I got rid of the list of trees, which I know Mr. Blessing put in, was the pinelands list, which the pinelands list of trees, recommended trees, really comes into action when there's development or commercial development, and you know, go for the pinelands, and the pinelands will say, all right, we want a certain amount of these trees. I don't know any homeowner that's ever been, got a letter from the pinelands saying they put in the wrong ornamental tree, you know. So in here is it's just a statement that the township will in the future come up with a list of trees that, and I don't think we would have a list of trees. I'm thinking about trees that should be planted. Two come to mind. Norway maple varieties are very invasive, and ornamental pear varieties are very invasive. I mean, I won't even grow them anymore. Pennsylvania and New York has already banned them. New Jersey's going to do it soon, hopefully. So I think instead of a list of trees that they can plant, a list of trees that they can't plant would be more better. And so we'll fine tune that for next meeting and have something to do about. Anybody have any questions? I want to thank Sam for working with me on this, and although Dave Frank and the other towns did most of the work.
Noble, just to echo on Noble, what he said, we did do a lot of work on this to try to make it more uniform since we're forced into this, to do this. We've done, you know, extensive work, Noble and I did on it, talked to a lot of folks to try, and I mean, it's been a short period of time to get this together, because we're on a time constraint to get it done. So, Mary Alice, what will be the date of introduction, so for the record, for the public?
Well, I was just gonna ask, Pinelands, a lot of times will review an ordinance after we introduce it, before we adopt it. Before we go through all that, would you like me to submit this to Pinelands before we even bother to introduce it and see what they have to say?
Can we do that?
Yeah, you can do that.
Get it started. I guess we do have a typo, so we'll adopt.
No, it's.
Mine says Woodland. Still says Woodland. Yeah, mine is. No big deal.
Swear to God, I read this thing over 15 times.
I guess I'm afraid of what they're gonna say, but
I guess if we have to.
okay.
Please get feedback from them, just get it all notes.
All right.
But we're still gonna have an introduction.
Do you want me to send it to Pinelands?
Yes.
Okay. And then what I can do if Pinelands gets back to me in time, because you know they usually have a 30-day turnaround. If they get back to me in time, I'll list it for introduction. If not, I'll wait until.
We'll discuss that.
Okay.
Thank you, Sam, for citizen ordinances, there are none. Consent agenda resolutions, resolution 2024-55, 56, and 57. We did a motion for it?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Sprague?
Yes.
Mr. McNaughton?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes. All right, we have resolutions, or applications, reports. Mary Alice.
The Open Report is submitted, monthly miscellaneous collections for 15,859. She submitted her report for 173,933.98.
CFO?
Just regarding the company meeting next week regarding the budget, as Noble already mentioned.
Thank you. Mr. Reese?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The only thing I have is the fully executed contracts for the Cricketsville Phase 2 have been executed, so we're in the process of scheduling for construction.
There was 2 pending litigations in the township. One was resolved, and that one is, it was actually dismissed. There is a current one pending that was on the executive session, that's BURL 774-24. That is the Historical Society versus the Tabernacle Township Committee. That, though there was an interlocutory order, that litigation is ongoing.
No report from the EMS. Fire chief? No? Okay.
It is in the packet.
Okay.
If you would like to review it, it's certainly in the packet.
Recreation director?
Mark from if you're watching away, I'm the volunteer director of the Recreation Committee, as you know. I mentioned the parade earlier, but just a couple of things. I mean, just kind of echo a lot of what was said tonight, last night, obviously a lot of passion in the room around the building. You know, I've never been a fan of abandoning, and not abandoning, but an alternative to the town hall, the town hall complex. It actually is just it really is the center of town, I think, by anybody's definition. I don't think anybody can dispute that. I understand the challenge of the old building, I understand the cost, I think, again, those passions have been expressed this evening. But think of the alternative when that building is gone, and what we do in that complex. You know, we don't have, I mean, that is a rallying point. I mean, we have a couple events there, we should have many more, honestly, if we had a building that we could host, one of the many volunteer organizations. I think it would go a long way to continue the bad volunteerism in this town that we've had for so many years. So again, I ask you to think of the alternative once that building's gone, and once we don't have that as a touchstone for not just this generation, but all future generations. I mean, it's not replaceable. I mean, it really is not replaceable. Even if they get a green space, it really gives us a rallying point. I think everybody, I know Deputy Mayor Stone mentioned a meeting or two ago that where was everybody? I think she made some remark. I think everybody's been waiting with bated breath to see what happens with this complex, and it's been years now, not only before you're watching many cases, but even the last few years, as we've watched it deteriorate, and listened to 16 months ago, we all rallied support at Seneca to hear what the plan was, and the plan included revitalization of that property. So again, just consider what happens when that building goes down, or if that building goes down, and what happens to the center of this town. If you said we're gonna replace it with the exact same replica of the building, on modern materials, that's one thing. I've never heard that expressed. But I think, again, once that's gone, I mean, we're thinking about everybody in this room, there's many stories, generational stories about that building, and their emotional attachment to it. But think about all the students. I know, Mr. Kramer expressed it, I think, very well a couple of meetings ago, relative to students and the fact that they live in town. The dude does have a center, does have a touchstone, does have a historical center that everybody can cling to, both for this generation and the next generations. So when that building goes down, and I think everybody here expressed that they're concerned about the $1 million or so that might go in versus some other alternative. I think it's just critical that you just consider what happens to the volunteers in this town, the heart of this town, the citizens bring to this meeting and many others. Again, I volunteer as the rec committee chairman. I do very little compared to many people that are involved with many volunteer groups. I think you all owe it to those groups, to the volunteers and what they put into this town, to give them this, to give them something that they can cling on to with the history and amplify as the generations go forward. So I ask you to put in that consideration. That's not gonna be, you're not gonna get that from building down Bernays Road, 600 feet from the street. So I fear we're gonna lose our center if that building goes. So again, I think it embodies both the Recreation Committee and the spirit of the town. If I knew that, if obviously you've done something, you brought the township together like a Christmas tree lighting or parade never has, so congratulations on that. But please give that some thought of what happens to the volunteers and the spirit of this town when that building is gone. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Committee reports, Mr. Dalton. Public works. Oh, sorry, public works, sorry. Sorry. No one does it. Public works report?
It is submitted in your packet.
Okay, Mr. Dalton, say you have nothing. Mr. Sprague, do you have anything this time?
Yeah, Mr. Burns, I have a question for you. What's the township's policy as far as employees, township employees that make racial slurs? What's your recommendation to the town?
Well, has a complaint been filed? So there would have to be a
Ms.
complaint.
Stone absolutely has made those remarks. Would somebody? Somebody needs to clarify whether or not that employee or any employee should be fired because of those remarks.
She is not an employee. She is a public official. They are not, public officials cannot be removed by the body. The body can censure another member of the body. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
All right. So, she is not an employee of the township. She is a public official elected by the voters. There is no way for the body to remove her. If that wasn't the case, the direction of the committee. Again, she is not an employee, she's a public official. So the committee, if they so choose, may censure one of their members, but there is no vehicle for the committee to remove her from office.
By censure, that means shows no vote. She shows up, she has no say.
No, a censure in this case would just be a letter that says.
I just want to make sure everybody understands.
A censure would be, basically a letter that says to any member of the committee, that as long as the committee adopted it, that they disapprove of whatever action there was.
Okay, so all that being said, what would be your recommendation for what she has said? There's nothing, you know. She's made racial remarks, and what you're saying is that the township should the township reprimand her?
The township can't reprimand her. Only the committee of which she serves as an equal member can reprimand.
Can you ask her to resign?
There has been talk as well about recall. She is not subject to recall because she hasn't been here long. But it is up to the committee.
Does she get to vote on the censure?
Have enough for this time. So, okay, adjournment. Can I get ayes?